In this section, we go back to the beginning of all of world history. And so, in order to be able to do that from a biblical worldview, we have to begin with creation. And so, in class, we went through and we read Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. I highly recommend that you go ahead and do that. Pause the video here, reread through the Genesis account of creation to get familiar with all of the details that are happening there. I realize it's one of those stories you've probably heard many times over, but reading through the text helps remind us of some of the important details that happened there. And so, as you read through your textbook, and then you read through the Bible, compare and contrast the accounts of how the world began and how the different viewpoints and worldviews will approach both of those, uh, approach the same issue from two very different standpoints. And so, if we look at the creation view from the Bible, a biblical worldview, it says that in the beginning, God. Now, a lot of people may ask, well, what God are we talking about? Because many different religions have many different gods. Well, we use God with a capital G, and I more specifically am going to target in the God Jehovah who created the world. If we want to go even more specific and say it was Elohim the creator, we could do so, but for right now, Jehovah is going to be good enough. And so he spoke all the things into existence in only 6 days. And I like to take the Bible as it says, 6 days, and don't want to read between the lines or try to misinterpret what the Bible says. And so I'm going to look at it as 6 24-hour days. And so we know that God is in control of all history because of a term called divine sovereignty. The fact that God did not create all of these things and just leave it to run however it will work. God is actively involved in his creation, and he is constantly encouraging us and helping us through daily situations and daily life. So divine sovereignty is the idea that God is still actively in control, and he knows what's going on, and he is going to continue to help us discover and accomplish his will. Now, God's greatest creation of all the things that he made, he says that his masterpiece was mankind, because mankind was distinct. It was different and unique from all the other creation for three reasons. First of all, because we are made in God's image. No other creation is given that same privilege to be made in the image of God. Because of the fact that we are made in God's image, we are made with unique characteristics. And I listed just a few here on the screen, but there are many others that we could look at, most of which are not visible or physical character traits. Instead, it's more internal. Things like the ability to reason, or a moral standard, a spiritual desire, emotions. All of these things are unique to humankind. And now I know some people will like to personify certain animals and assume that they carry a few of these characteristics, but in reality, they don't have the same character traits that what God has assigned to mankind, nor are they reflective of the image of God's creation. So, the third reason why we are distinct is because we have an opportunity to share a relationship with God. No other element of God's creation was given this privilege, nor was any other part of creation given the opportunity for salvation through the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And so that is another area in which we are unique and we are made in God's image. I'd like to take a look at this illustration here as these two computers are looking at one another and denying the fact that humans had any sort of element to their creation, that they just evolved from a bunch of plastic wires and little micro thingers. It's the same way with human beings, that we were created by a creator, and that creator is actively involved in helping us through life and helping us accomplish his will. I've got a couple of videos here that I'm going to attach into Canvas. I'd encourage you to go ahead and watch so they add to everything that we are talking about here. Now, mankind's purpose is seen in the creation mandate in Genesis 1:28, where the Bible says, "Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth on the earth." This is our purpose to life. God gives it to us here in Genesis chapter 1, more specifically to Adam and Eve, and he says that this is what you are to do. You're maybe saying, wait, what, hold on. That doesn't specifically tell me what I'm supposed to do after college. No, you're right, it doesn't. But it tells us that our responsibility is to be fruitful, to multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, have dominion over the fish, the sea, the fowl of the air, over every living thing that moves in the earth. And so it gives us a number of meanings to life, specifically in how we are to relate to the earth and the world around us. We are to use the earth in order for us to survive and advance the culture of mankind. We are also to be wise with the earth and how we use it and how we use our resources. God does not want us just to go wiping out entire populations of animal species for the fun of it, or to just chop down trees without any sort of purpose behind it. But if it's to help accomplish His will or help us to be fruitful and multiply, and for us to utilize the creation mandate, then God gives us that power to have control over the fruit of the earth. The mandate also means that we need to work well together with others, and that brings up an important historical term or even geography term of civilization. Civilization literally means city, and it is an organization or group of people that are living together in a community in order to benefit one another. And so, for civilization to work well together, they need to be on the same page or have the same goals and the same ideas. Clearly, we are going to have differences of opinion. However, in a civilization, one of the main goals is survival and is to defend against some sort of enemy or some sort of threat to our existence. And so, civilization will work together in order to accomplish those purposes. One of the ways that we do that is by specialization. And so, we will each take on a role in that civilization to help the community benefit for the better. This is the reason why I am a teacher. I have specialized in the art of teaching so that I can earn a living and I can go out and I can pay somebody else to work on my car because I'm not working on my car this weekend. I'm going to work on lesson plans. I'm going to work on something school related. It's the same reason why I will pay somebody else to manufacture bread or uh, to make any sort of food that I get from the grocery store because I'm not specialized in that skill. Somebody else is going to do that, and I'm going to pay them with the wages that I earned as a teacher. And so that's how specialization is going to work to help our civilization advance. So Adam and Eve, or I guess I should start with Adam, he exercised his ability over the mandate by first naming the animals. It was the very first job that was available. It was really the only job available, but he took it and he started naming all the animals. And as he started doing so, he realized that he was not going to be able to complete the mandate as God had given him. And so he needed a mate. He needed somebody to help him do that. And so that's where God made Eve and gave him that helpmeet. I've got another video here to add in, and so go ahead and watch that when you get through with this one to help wrap up this particular section.